Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Café con Giorgio. I have the pleasure of meeting Summer and Mohammed today. They are the agents and insurance experts behind Goosehead Insurance in Mountain Lakes, New Jersey. And I had the honor to be invited by Summer to an event a few weeks ago. I never went because I don't go out, but after that happened, I'll say, hey, let me get in touch with her and see what they do. She actually reached out to me, so hey, might as well just make this happen. Um, Without further ado, I just wanted to you guys to introduce yourself, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you guys got into the business, and how guys how you guys how you guys do.
Of course. Thank you so much, Giorgio, for having us,
Yeah,
and the
thank
pleasure
you.
is actually all ours. My name is Mohammed Kendall. I'm a co-agent for the Goosehead Insurance Kendall Hindi agency. For those of you who don't know, Goosehead Insurance is actually the fastest growing broker in America right now. Um, Built on really good bones, and we're really glad to be here and kind of share how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, I second what Mo said. I'm Summer Al also with Goosehead Insurance, the Candale Hendy Agency, and we are first cousins and business owners.
So, now you're telling me your first cousins, right? How does being cousins and business owners and partners affect your everyday life?
It's great. Honestly, it really is. We were saying how we kind of talked about it a little before, but we were saying how a lot of people say business and family doesn't mix. But with us, it actually, I couldn't have pictured myself in a better situation with a business partner, especially because since
Yeah, same.
culturally, family is very important to us. So with us, we got into this and we're digging for the success, not for our own personal gain, it's for our families. So since we are in the same family, we have that shared goal of making this a success for our family. So who better to work with every day? Who better to put in all this time and energy with than somebody who has that same goal as you?
Yeah, and we grew up together, so we know each other like very well. Our families are basically one. Like we just grew up as one huge unit, and I trust him with everything. Like he's somebody that we have very similar mindsets, but if there's something that I'm unsure of or if he's unsure of, we can feed off each other's ideas and we bounce off each other's ideas really well. So it's good to have like that second opinion and somebody to kind of rely on and times where you're unsure or anything like that. But it's just somebody that you can really trust. So I feel so comfortable going into business with him. And like he said, I really couldn't ever picture a better position to be in with somebody as my business partner.
It's actually funny that you say that because when I started my businesses, I always thought that I wanted my brother to be part of it, right? And my brother and my sister. My cousin relationship is not as strong as yours, but my brother and my sister were always number one, and I always wanted them to be part of my business. Culturally, that's what we were taught. We're an Italian background family, Hispanic, and that's one thing that we share in common. With all cultures outside of the American culture. I feel it's that family comes first, business comes second, and if you have your family in your business, your business is gonna be the tightest unit ever.
Yeah.
And I heard it all the time. Oh, how do you guys do it? And I'm not gonna lie to you, me and my brother fight all the time. We're
Yeah.
always fighting, but I always tell them, hey, this is not about me and you and mom, me and you and whatever. This is not Giorgio and Manuel. This is the Clenar group, right? And then
Yeah.
we discuss this. Don't get upset. Don't get offended. Move on. And now it shouldn't affect our personal lives. You guys
Yeah.
feel that way, or
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You
No,
better put those boundaries on the side. Like we let you know that business comes in one thing and family is one thing, but we gotta know when to separate the two and not kind of get like the hurt feelings or but hurt about anything. We gotta be know we gotta stay straight on some things and then go back a little bit on some other things when it's just business aside. But once it's time to put your head in the game, you gotta do.
absolutely. We before we started this business, we set those ground rules. We said, listen, we need to call each other out when we need to call each other out. No offense can be taken. And it's almost like when you say those things in advance, it sets the tone for the future of the business. Because if I ever try to call Summer out and she feels salty about something, we can always go back to that initial conversation.
True.
Remember, we said when these moments occur that we're allowed to kind of come to each other. At the end of the day, we came to a realization that it's never like a my side versus her side. It's a what is going to benefit the business and
Business, of
what's not
course.
going to.
So
And because we both
how
just
does
wanted
your
to,
how does your actual family relation affects, or does it affect at all your business? Like, you guys are, Middle Easterns, right?
Mhm.
Well, you're
Yeah.
Egyptian, so you're Africans,
Egyptian, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So culture very similar to ours, where family moms especially always have a say, right, into
Yeah.
our children's lives. I know my mom does, right?
Oh yeah.
Does that affect your business, or does it try to affect the business in any way?
No,
Well,
they're a
like
huge
she said,
support.
yeah, we're like brother and sister. Our moms literally are sisters.
Okay.
So my mom looks at her as her daughter, and her mom
Yeah.
looks at me as her son, like her son. You know
Oh,
what I
Mhm.
good. At
mean?
least that's,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it makes it easy because it's almost like everybody's on the same page, and
Got
Yeah.
it.
they just want us to create success. And again, it's not for our own gain; it's for the whole family.
True. I love it.
Yeah.
So you guys are pretty young, right? How did you guys get involved into insurance? I mean, it's an industry that it's comprised mostly of older agents, young people out of college do not want to go into sales, definitely not insurance. How did you guys
Yeah.
get involved into this industry?
Well, yeah, growing up, my mom, she worked in a State Farm office. She still works there now. But his mom and him, like our whole family basically used to hang out at that office. Like it was like a hangout spot. We became really close with everybody in her office. So it kind of became like one big family. I loved being there. I never thought I would ever be in insurance. I mean, I was a psychology major in college. So the psychology can work with sales, but as far as me thinking I was going to be in insurance, I never thought so. I knew I liked sales. I worked at like a movie theater in high school, and I wanted to be the top. We had these little like Stubbs cards, and I was like, I'm going to be the top salesperson in here. Like, this is fun. I like this. But I didn't think I would transfer that into insurance. But in college,
Right.
a position opened up in my mom's office, and I was like, let me get an interview. Let me call. She was like, yeah, call the boss, like, see if he's open to it. So I gave him a call, went in the interview, hit it off, ended up working there for a couple of years in college and out of college, and then jumped into kind of how Goosehead got introduced to our lives with Mo's story.
Yeah, and kind of similar. This where I am now, the path kind of found me. I didn't kind of look for it.
Yeah.
Pieces just kind of fell into place. I just knew that I wanted to be my own boss someday. I didn't know with what or how, until like I just kind of I did my part. I kind of just headed in the direction I felt I needed to head in, and things just kind of started falling into place better than I would have planned it myself. Like she said, we grew up in her mom's office. So her mom was always telling me, you should look into being an insurance agent. You should look into being an insurance agent. Out of college, struggling to find a job because I was working full time just to get myself through college. Couldn't afford unpaid internships because I needed to make money just to actually be able to graduate.
Yep.
So coming out of college, it was hard without the experience or the internships. That piece of paper is not weighed as heavy as it used to be, the degree.
Sure, it's not.
Now
Yep.
it's all about experience. Yeah. So it worked out that the only position that I was able to actually get into was an insurance agent in West Caldwell, which is not too far from my house.
Yep.
But then looking back now, I notice it's not like, oh, I settled. It's like the world just worked that way. Like every next step that I thought was different than how I wanted it was perfect.
Sure.
and was exactly the way it needed to be. And I noticed that I ended up growing a passion for insurance and protecting people's assets. And with Goosehead Insurance, I couldn't have found a better company that enforces that enforces actually making sure that you're looking at this as not just a way to make money and a way to grow a business, but a way to really help people and help protect people.
So you guys, again, I understand your background. Your, families are immigrants and came to this country to work hard and grow to the next level, and allow you guys the opportunity to be where you guys are today, where your mom worked at an agency for someone, and today you are an agency owner, right? Um, do you feel that you bring that experience to your business, where it's not just about the money, it's about making sure that people are taken care of?
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
because both of our parents came here from Egypt. My dad came here when he was like 25. My mom came when she was younger, but they came from nothing to something, They built their entire lives. The whole family background, it's the way they built their lives from coming from Egypt to a completely different country, with like a whole new life. It inspired us to be like, okay, they built themselves. They were never handed anything. Like, we need to do that and give back to them. They worked their entire lives to provide for us. So now we have to return the favor. And it's like, I wouldn't want to have anything handed to me because it wouldn't give me the values that I have today and the drive that I have to make sure I succeed with what my goals are, and that's really to help the people that helped me the most as well and provide.
It's actually amazing that even though we are from different countries, right? You guys are Egyptian. I'm Hispanic, and a lot of the people that I serve, are mostly Hispanic, and that we deal with are Hispanic. You know, the fact that we're immigrants and we came to this country with just the goal and the dream of the American dream of not build something for ourselves, but for our future generations, right? I mean, myself, I'm a first generation immigrant, but really, my mom came to America to provide for us, and she, was a single mother of three. We came to Patterson, New Jersey, with nothing. I mean, we lived like in if you think about it, fucking poverty, right? And
Yeah.
she was working in a factory, the night shift because it was the only available position, and she was making like fucking 4,000 an hour, right? Where I think the most that she ever made was 26, 24, $26,000 a year. Where as I then grew up and I started doing real estate and all my different other businesses, I was making that shit like in a month, like and to I was able to get to that because she gave us the opportunity, and we always had food at the table. We always had clean clothes, and she never you know, made us feel that pressure that
Yeah.
you guys don't have it, And actually, she pushed us to be better. Uh, and in your case, like you were saying, like Mo was saying, Summer's mom pushed you to do that. At the time when you're young, you don't see it, right? When you're in
Yeah.
college, when you're in high school, you don't see it. You're like, oh, my aunt just want me to do what she wants, I'm not doing this shit. I'm gonna be whatever, a lawyer,
Sometimes.
Mo, right? I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be a psychologist. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck insurance. And then you
Yeah.
look back, you're like, wait a minute, this is, more than just sell
There's
a
more to
policy to a
it.
guy and give him, coverage so he can get the car out of the dealership. It's a
Yeah.
lot more that comes into that. Do you guys feel that
Um,
way, or am I just putting words in your mouth?
Absolutely. No, you hit the hammer on the nail. Absolutely. And it is honestly, especially when it comes to back to what you were saying, when it comes to work ethic, like my family growing up, like my mom, my dad, they had 6 kids. It wasn't not necessarily all 6 of us were planned, but kids are expensive. So I watched my parents hustle and bustle and put in work just to provide a good life for us. My dad was working 2 jobs for a majority of my life up until a few years ago. I
Yeah.
barely got to even know my dad because I only saw him on weekends, and on weekends he just wanted to relax. Now that he's retired, he's taken on a job as a paraprofessional, working with autistic kids. So just to
Wow.
keep him going, but we actually see him now, and I'm getting to know my dad more, and from getting to know him I'm starting to see like I want like these moments are so special that I want to put in that work, and I want to work smarter, and I want to work harder, so I can provide a life for my family where we can kind of enjoy each other. You know what I mean? And all be in a situation where we all have opportunities and we all have the means to kind of be able to be there for our families as well and support our families.
True.
But like you said, as far as coming into insurance, I realized it has become more than just working hard at something and creating a good life. It's that extra bonus that we're actually really out there helping people. Like we also see the claims too. You know what I mean? So we see when things do get tough and when people's assets, like their home is completely mutilated, the coverage we gave them allowed them to get to a situation where they're back to where they were before the calamity happened, or sometimes even better. And at
Instead
the
of
end of
10
the day, yeah, at the end of the day, we sit back and we're like, we did that. And we've
Yeah,
also seen horror stories with other companies or other insurance policies where they weren't covered at all because they weren't written correctly.
a thousand
And I
percent.
will not allow that to happen. I cannot be the reason somebody's hard-earned asset is deteriorated and they have no coverage for it because it wasn't written properly. I
So
just
funny,
don't.
funny thing you say that. I mean, you guys know I have a background in insurance, and so does my brother. We actually had a very successful insurance agency. Um, the one thing that we always told the client is, coverage, it's important, but when people tell coverage is important, they don't understand what it means, right? So what we're trying to say is that we want to make sure that you're protected. Many times people go with the cheapest. What's the cheapest? What's the cheapest? What's the cheapest, right? And what tends to happen is that most insurance agents, because they want to not fight and just do their thing, they go select the minimum coverage in the state, give them the 1535, and get the guy out of the thing, not realizing that that minimum standard, then you can go to a higher coverage and be the same price. The
Yeah.
same exact
Yeah.
price, and you're getting
Yeah.
like 10 times the coverage,
Yeah.
right? Where the client doesn't understand that it's on you, in your case, you guys, insurance agents,
Yeah.
show them and provide them and educate, right? The client,
Absolutely.
hey,
That's the key
client,
word.
look, you can do this, this, and that, and you can get this coverage. Funny example. Manuel, my brother, was very big in auto insurance, right? And he used to have dealerships sending him massive amounts of business. Like he was the dealership king. Where his phone Saturdays, would ring off the hook. Sunday, he was getting all these like New York calls. Like he would just be on the phone on a date, take out his laptop, do a $3,000 policy, and make money, right? And I used to be like, Manuel, why don't you cross sell, right? He's like, oh, I don't need to cross sell. I'm making money, and I'm helping people. I'm like, if you cross sell, for one, you get words and you get paid more and whatever. But two, have you ever asked that client, hey, client, do you have renter's insurance? Because some of these clients need it. And not only that, you actually probably get a multi-policy discount. So he started looking into, doing this cross-selling. And for every policy, he will try to either give that person, which they never had it, either a renter's policy or a life insurance policy, which again, life insurance is something that is very touchy for all our communities outside of the Americans, right? Because Americans understand that it's part of like financial planning and so forth. They talk about it since they're young. Our cultures doesn't, right? But he used to then add this extra layer of protection. And one time he got a young lady that bought a vehicle here in Paramus Honda, and he got her a renter's insurance. And with the renter's insurance, the actual total policy was, I think, like $40 cheaper than if she was gonna do it without it, right? So it's like, listen, if you do a renters, it's gonna be $40 cheaper, whatever, and you get also renter's insurance. She's like, oh, I don't want it, I don't need it. I'm like, listen, trust me, you're gonna want it, you need it, whatever. He sold both policies. That weekend, there was a fire in their house in
Oh my God.
Patterson, and she bought the car like on Friday. The policy was effective Friday night, at midnight for Saturday, and like Sunday morning, the house caught fire.
Oh my God.
And she called him on Monday, and she's like, "Hey, and again, these people do the GoFundMe and the crowdfunding in the church. She's crying because she's at her mom's house and whatever." And mother goes, "Hey, let me call, claims, get you a hotel. You have insurance. Like don't stress, don't worry. And by
Yeah.
the way, you have $25,000, for your items, which, she's like, oh my God, like, I don't even have $25,000. I'm like, yes, you do. You have $25,000 in your
I
items,
do.
right? She's like, let me call the hotel and let me call claims, and then we'll get your hotel for you guys tonight. She's like, oh my God. So after that, she started telling everybody how Manuel took care of her and whatever. And shit like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
He's
the
always
fact
there.
that we then
We see it all
educate
the
the community and the client, they don't realize it. They don't know unless you tell them.
Oh yeah.
time. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. We'll go like line by line with us. We never want anybody to not know what they're getting, because a lot of times it's like we're also just comparing rates if it's not like just a new purchase. We'll see the declarations page and we get like scared sometimes because we're like not covered. So God forbid something happens. The insurance you've been paying for, you basically have been paying for nothing because now you're gonna have to pay this huge amount because you didn't get the right coverage. So, and a lot of times we can beat the rate with giving much better coverage,
1,000%.
line by line, let them know exactly what each coverage is because we want to be educated on it. So now they know exactly what's gonna happen and what to cover and how to be covered.
I'll tell you one of the markets that I use. Manuel was very big into the dealership. I was really big into going to targeting certain communities. I knew that there's been that insurance agent in that community for the longest time, and most people went there, right? And many times people get complacent, the consumer and the agent, and at times they don't take care of the client, right? And they're only looking at preserving the book.
Yeah.
Um, so I found that it was easy for me to go to, let's say, Parsippany, and I knew that State Farm agent has been there for 35 years, and I would target, his area. And today, through social media and marketing, like, you very easily can target a certain radius of that, and then people, like you said, you can save them thousands of dollars many times, same coverage or higher coverage, just because they've been sitting with an insurance company or the same client or the same agency for a long time.
Yeah, they think it's a huge process to switch, and we're like, listen, I'm gonna make it easy for you. I'm gonna hold your hand, walk you through this, and make it a much easier process than what you think it is. It's just all in your head, really.
Is that why you guys decided to go into a brokerage model instead of a one single branded model?
Absolutely. That's like you mentioned earlier, how certain coverage options change. People have been with the same carriers for so long. 70% of your people's loved ones are with a captive agent, and they don't realize that one, they could be missing out on huge savings, or two, they could be missing out on coverage options.
What's
Some
captive
carriers
agent?
now,
What's captive
so
agent for
that's
those
like,
people? So people that
yeah.
don't know what the terminology is.
So they're working with an agent like that only has one option. It's a dead end street. They can only offer you what they have.
So like a
However,
State Farm, a State
yeah, State
Farm,
Farm,
Allstate,
Geico,
Liberty Mutual.
Farmers,
Got
absolutely.
it.
And insurance is not a one size fits all. So everybody has their own scenario. Everybody has their own household, which is different than the next. So as a broker, you have the ability to match everybody with the perfect company for them and not just with what you have to offer. You know what I mean? And there's certain endorsements that one household needs that another doesn't. And there are certain carriers that offer that endorsement that other carriers don't. So it's important that you make sure that you're finding your right fit when it comes to insurance and not just the best fit that they can offer because there's not many options to be
For
offered.
you. And that's why you guys decided to go on the broker side, so that you have the ability of
Mhm.
giving more options to the client.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that way
People
we're
could
not
have
biased.
Yeah, people could have situation like eligibility factors that they don't realize that could prevent them from being covered where they you know what I mean, where they have options out there where they would be covered. Like if somebody had a pit bull and the carrier doesn't accept pit bulls and they're with that carrier and the carrier didn't even know they had that dog and there was an incident, they wouldn't be covered because that carrier doesn't cover it.
Right.
Because we are broker, and because we ask the right questions, like we make sure on the front end to get all of those eligibility questions out of the way to
Yep.
make sure that we're placing them with the right carrier, because we have carriers that won't accept it, but we have carriers that will. So
Right.
it's important that we make sure that we ask and we find that out in the beginning. So that way we're placing them with the carrier where they're fully covered for any and all of the situations that apply to them. If they have we actually, like you mentioned earlier, there was that horror story. We had a situation where we wrote somebody a new policy. They asked us to look into their policy. It was written as a homeowner's, but it was actually a dwelling because they had tenants living in it. So we actually rewrote it properly as if it's tenant for tenant use. And I want to say a couple weeks later, there was a huge storm and their whole house was actually wiped out. And literally, if we didn't just change their policy 2 weeks earlier, there could have been that possibility that they wouldn't have been covered, or that they would have had to go through lawsuits just to even have the
True.
possibility of making sure that they are. So we
Definitely.
save them a lot of trouble. We save their whole asset just by making sure that we ask the right questions. Because sometimes it's unintentional. Sometimes it's not that they purposely wrote it incorrectly. It's just they didn't ask enough questions to make sure that it is. And we try
Also, what it
to.
is that exactly what what you're saying is that the client doesn't know, right? And same thing
Mhm.
when it comes to us with mortgages or real estate, or whatever you're trying to say. Even the doctor, right? The doctor cannot diagnose you unless you tell him exactly what you're feeling. Like if you tell him,
Exactly.
listen, I have a headache and I have a stuffy nose, and I'm
Mhm.
tearing, but you don't tell him that you have diarrhea, that he might think that you have, a cold, and when you might instead have, the flu,
Yeah.
right? Well,
Sure.
and it doesn't make sense if you don't tell the person that you're trying to expert everything about your situation. It's impossible for
Absolutely.
them to diagnose you or to give you the best product or exactly what you might need without them having to like keep digging. And that's actually one thing that we do all the time. And we created, this organization called Educasa, where we train and educate the consumer of everything. And whenever we have an initial consultation with them, we go deep into everything. Like we just go deep. And sometimes people feel that we're asking too many questions. We're like, hey, trust me, this is all gonna end up making sense to you at the end. Because again, we understand culturally, especially, that many people are afraid or they don't know or they don't want to also feel like they're not smart enough not to know, right? And they feel that they don't want
Yeah.
to tell you that they don't know, so they
No,
feel
you're
like they're
right.
less smart than you. So Goosehead Insurance, Mountain Lakes, you guys do auto, home, commercial, life. What do you guys do?
We do it all
All of
except
that.
for health.
Yeah.
But we
Okay,
can
no
put
help.
you to the right person for health. We like to
Okay,
hire someone as one point of contact. So we built a network to, if there's something that we can't do, we're still that one point
We're
of
gonna find
contact
you
to
the best
report you
person.
who can.
and you
Exactly.
guys do life insurance as well.
Yes, we do life. We broker life, so we shop around with many different carriers, whole life and term life. A lot of people like to look into term life as a way of mortgage protection. So that way, that
Yep.
term they have their home, we can set the life policy for the
We
same
actually tell
amount.
all our clients that they need to get a life insurance policy as soon as they buy a home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And our term life rates are great. They're amazing. From being with a captive agent, we thought there was only one
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
no, you're crazy.
now that we work with so many, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know the rates could
Yeah,
get
like
this.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
eighteen
The whole new
dollars.
life.
I was paying 56. Yeah.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
and we do umbrella, flood, private flood. A lot of people don't really know that there's
Yeah.
private flood options, but it's significantly cheaper and actually offers more coverage options.
Right. Right.
And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes there's coverages that the clients need that they don't know they need. So we actually do cross sell a lot. We package sell. We'll offer an umbrella quote. We'll offer a flood quote. If they're doing just auto and they rent, we'll offer that renter's quote. And what we do is we actually have an E&O notes section where we'll recommend it the way we think they should have it. And it's their choice if they want to decline something or not. If they decline it, we'll actually notate it.
Got it.
So because we know it's not important that they should have it, that if they're choosing to decline it, we'll notate that they declined it so they can't
Also, I
come up
mean,
with
it's for your
anything.
protection, guys. I mean, I'll
Exactly.
tell you that as an agency owner, I'll tell you, and tell all my guys, like, notate everything,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Notate
we sure
everything.
do.
Look, one
That's
time, again, I don't know how you guys do, you know, because Goosehead, you guys, you're part of a much bigger company, right? So
Mhm.
we got really close to all our account managers from all different carriers. So one time, my brother did a policy for a young kid out of Jersey City, and he bought this brand new, like, brand new to him. I think it was like a used Mustang convertible, Mustang GT convertible, right?
Mhm.
And the travelers at that time used to give us the opportunity to verbal um, not endorse. What's the word I'm looking for? When you issue the policy, um,
Find it.
verbal bind it, right? Verbally bind it. So he would put a note in the system that the policy was verbally bound. So even though you were buying it today, which is April 10th, and technically the policy is effective April 11th, and April 10th at midnight, he was verbally binding April 10th because of volume. The account manager will allow us to do that, for those few hours. So the kid took the car out of the lot and crashed it right outside the lot.
Oh my
Like
God.
literally, as he's driving outside the lot, he paid with a check over the phone, and the check goes through because you put it using whatever. It's a Friday night, the bank, everything goes through, the check and everything. Well, comes Tuesday, the check bounced. So travelers, Manuel calls. Travelers like, oh, don't worry, he's covered, whatever. Comes Tuesday, the check bounces. So
Wow.
now Travelers is like, wait a minute, you know, this guy's not covered. He didn't give the money that he gave us does not count. Mind you, he totaled the vehicle. The vehicle is total. So now you have a dealership that has a vehicle that they haven't even sold yet because it was a weekend. They haven't even moved it to the finance, right? Even though it's finance, the paperwork is not even submitted yet. So now they have a vehicle that they haven't sold technically, that is total, that they owe money on because they also bought it in credit. They have a kid that doesn't have insurance. It was a big mess. Long story short, Travelers covered it because again the relationship, but then gave a 6 month period where you couldn't verbally bind any longer. You had to wait the 24 hours for it to be bound. But like there's all type of things that you don't realize it, and shit happens, man.
Yeah,
And
that's
Yeah.
if you don't have the right coverage,
Yeah.
right, and the right insurance, and it's not just about your car. A lot of people, especially in our cultures and just in general, people think that insurance is about your car. Oh, I have an old car, I don't need insurance. Oh, I don't need a good insurance. Oh, I don't have a lease, I'm not financing, I don't need full
Mhm.
coverage. Oh, I don't need that umbrella policy, right? And they're fucking own
Until you do.
17 homes. Yeah, exactly. Like, no, you do, like, oh, I'm a
Yeah.
realtor. Oh, I don't need to. But guy, you driving people in your car. Like, have
Yeah.
you ever thought about maybe asking for a real estate policy? Like things that people don't realize. I
yeah.
think they should ask. Don't be embarrassed. And I think that you guys need to be out there more, letting people know, like, hey, did you know? Hey,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
start creating that, especially, you guys are pretty,
Absolutely.
you're a pretty good looking couple. You can do videos about like just honestly like 3 5 minute 4 minute videos. Hey, did you know? And just give a little bit of like insurance bits and pieces. I think you guys can make, first of all, grow your insurance agency much bigger than what it is today. And second, like help a lot of people, which is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
They
No,
might not
you're
come to
right.
you, but
Yeah. No, we like to think of ourselves not just as insurance agents, but as educators in the industry. And we like to take advantage of like webinars or go out and do talks just to inform people. But you're right, we have the tool, and we've actually discussed this, that we do want to have more of a presence on social media, because now we're living in a world where we can reach a lot more people just by holding up our phone.
People are
So
so social media focused now.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. How about languages? Do you guys? I mean, you speak English. Arabic?
Yes, we do speak Arabic. I mean, they're gonna laugh at our accent.
It's fine.
but,
Do
but
you
we
speak
do
Arabic?
speak it. We understand it very well too.
Do you guys
Yeah.
have any other languages in the office, or you guys speak any other languages?
Not
So
yet.
Well, I'm doing Duolingo, trying to learn Spanish, but I do have insurance licensed insurance friends. Actually, two of my best friends are Peruvian, by the way.
Okay.
One of them is licensed in insurance and he speaks Spanish, so he'll help me with like three-way calls. Also, the good thing about Goosehead Insurance is the franchise actually gives us a fully licensed service team
Okay.
that can assist with anything. They don't have to push any of our clients off or anything because they're all required to be licensed. They're
Perfect.
being paid 70K at a college, highly competitive vetting process. So you're in good hands with our service team, and they have the option for all these different languages.
Perfect.
So if our
So
clients call
if you had
you,
ever, clients recommended to you or clients that speak Spanish, to you, you might not talk to them directly, but they are the customer service rep is part of your team. Therefore, they will give them the same exact service that you will provide as, Summer and
correct. So to start off the policy, we have resources to get it done. Once the policy is in place, they forever have assistance to our service team in the Spanish language.
Fantastic.
Also, we're growing. We're actually just hit our 1 year mark in May.
Congrats.
So as of May 1st, officially on the books, we're going to be 1 year in business. We do want to look into start hiring another producer.
Okay.
And one of the requirements for us now is we want them to be able to speak Spanish.
Definitely. You should
Yeah.
definitely make that. How about
Absolutely.
customer service rep in house? You want actually a producing person?
So a producer, like to actually issue the policies. As far
Yeah.
as service, that's not an issue because any time of the day with any of our clients that are better versed in Spanish, they can get assistance in Spanish today through our service team. But
Amazing. Amazing.
in-house for sales to issue new policies, we want to hire a producer that speaks Spanish.
And would that be a commission only, or you're planning on doing like a salary only, salary and commission? How are you planning on doing it?
So it would go like by ear because in the beginning obviously we would want to give them a bit of a salary so they could start building their own book. But once they're
Yeah.
making enough in commission, which the way we'll train them and the way Goosehead trains them, we know they're going to, we're gonna make it more of a commission base down the road.
Love it, love it. We'll definitely spread it out. There's a lot of people. I know a lot of young men and women that are stuck there trying to figure out what's next, what to do. Like you were saying, Mo. Like you had a certain plan
Absolutely.
and goal, but the reality is that the pieces always told you that that was the route. You
Yeah.
just at that point did not know, and there's a lot of people out there like that.
Did you ever hear the saying, when you make a plan, God laughs at you?
Always,
Yeah.
It
yeah, that's true.
Reason.
is.
So, guys, if you have one thing, one last thought, and thinking back about you guys growing up, as children in an immigrant family, so what your parents went through, what you guys did, the struggle, and what you guys did to get to where you are today. If you have one thought to young Mo, young Summer, or somebody that is going through that situation at this time, what would you say to them um, um, to make their life better?
Yeah, well, I mean, seeing where I was a couple years ago, I would never picture myself in this position. And luckily, I pushed through. But I would say, to myself back then, don't have that negative mindset. I would just understand that, like he said, you make a plan, God is gonna laugh at you. Trust in everything happens for a reason. Keep it strong and just keep pushing through. And remember what your goal is at the end of the day. Don't give up until you achieve that.
Love it.
Absolutely. And likewise, I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of like success is in your mindset. So you just need to really believe that if you're doing all of the things that you feel are right to get you there, like truly genuinely believe that you're doing the right thing to get in that direction towards success, that it's going to happen. You need to know it's going to happen, and everything else along the way is out of your control. So you just need to roll with the punches, keep working hard, head in that direction. You're gonna make it there. You can't control what happens along the way, but as long as you have the positive mindset that it's gonna end okay, it's gonna help you deal with those little pitfalls along the way a lot better, rather than set yourself back by having a negative mindset and everything.
Yeah, keep
Everything will
positive
come
vibes, positive thoughts all the time. Absolutely,
absolutely
absolutely.
100%.
Love it, guys, man. You guys are awesome, and Congratulations for your
Likewise,
1 year
man.
mark. You know, I know you guys are gonna kill
Thank
it. You're
you.
gonna kill
Thank
it,
you.
and you're gonna be.
We
I can feel
appreciate
your
it.
energy, which is, I. I'm pretty good at telling people, I have maybe this special, power, I,
Yeah.
I
Aw,
can feel
thank you
energy
so
right
much.
away, man. And you guys are
Really
gonna
appreciate
be not only successful, but I'm really grateful that you guys are thinking about educating the consumer first, and money will
it.
always come with it. So thanks for allowing us to do this interview with you, and
No, thank you
Thanks for
so
allowing us
much.
to be part of it.
Cafe Con Giorgio is the best cafe in town, in
right,
Jersey.
and my
In
sister
the
gave me the cup, so why not, right?
Yeah, that's the forever.
Guys, thank you very much.
No, thank
We're
you.
definitely gonna keep in touch more, and Summer, I promise next time you invite me to somewhere, I'll go.
You better.
Absolutely.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you so much again.